Well, if you've been following college lacrosse at all this season, it would be absolutely no surprise to you that we had another insane weekend. Cuse versus Cornell, Duke versus UNC, all you could ask for and more in the college lacrosse world.
You know what else is all you can ask for and more? The Juicer Tournament is back. Last semester, Ryan Bridges took home the trophy. Tonight, it starts. You're going up against Jordan Leonard plus a Drew Albaugh and Chloe Smarz matchup as well. I'll be moderating both. Who's going to come out on top in advance? Well, you have to find out.
I think this guy. We've also got some college basketball transfer portal talk. Don't go anywhere. And it's an exciting 45-minute show of No Pulp. And it starts right now.
Kansas State has been on fire this year. Missouri is one of the most fraudulent teams in college basketball. And it was proved
They're not going to fire him. He's the best player in program history.
Side to Lawrence for the win! Yes! He got it!
She is the Shohei Ohtani of college softball. This is a team that's potentially going to be a top 10 team in the country.
How you feeling? I'm excited to win the Juicer.
LSU has captured its very first national championship.
Welcome into No Pulp, everyone. I'm Adam Gotkin alongside Adam Avin. You just said it. Juicer Tournament is back.
Starts right now.
Most exciting time of the year. Let's take a look at the bracket. Very, very exciting matchups all throughout. We start off today on the right side. I'm taking on Jordan Leonard. Chloe Smarz taking on Drew Albaugh. Any exciting matchups for you, Adam, in this entire tournament?
I mean, that Carson Fowler-Max Gifford matchup, I mean, nobody wants to see Max Gifford in the Juicer ever. I certainly don't. He would want revenge on me, so I'm glad I'm not judging that matchup tonight. But I'm excited. It's fun every semester, and I'm glad we brought it back.
That should be a ton of fun. Something else that's been a ton of fun this season, college lacrosse. I mean, it's never not, but this season especially has been super special. And we had a massive game this weekend. Ohio State against Maryland, number 6 going to number 2. And the Terps came out on top, pulled off the upset.
They did.
Oh, upset rankings-wise, but to me, honestly, not that much of an upset. This was not a surprise to me because I did not think that Ohio State was that good of a team coming in. And, you know, Maryland going to Ohio State, that should always feel like a game that the Terps
You're
won.
a Buckeye hater, I think, no matter the sport.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we saw it with Maryland earlier in the year. They go and they beat a good Syracuse team that maybe people thought Syracuse had an advantage in. Then they go and they beat Notre Dame. I mean, Maryland started off the year incredibly strong. And if we're talking about this game specifically, you got to shout out Logan McGahan, their goalie.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Broke the all-time saves record that has been held at Maryland for 41 years. So shout out to him. I mean, he's the heart and soul of that defense, an elite Maryland defense that has stopped at him some of the best offenses in the country. So when you say it's not a surprise, they've done it already this year. They went on an 8-1 run at one point and end up this game. I mean,
the
ridiculous.
defense is why it's not a surprise to me. This Maryland defense is incredible. John Tillman always knows what he's doing, and they shut down Ohio State's stars. Alex Mariner, 40 points this season for Ohio State, had none in this game. The Buckeyes just don't have guys that you can trust going up against a great defense like Maryland has. That's really, I think, their biggest issue because, you know, the Terps are so well coached. You have to play a perfect game, and Ohio State just simply did not.
Ohio State also, I mean, Maryland has faced a lot of really tough teams straight off the jump, and I think Ohio State almost tricked people at the beginning. They had a couple of really good wins. They've started to play a little bit more of these closer games later on, but if we look at the Big Ten rankings, Ohio State still holds strong up top. Maryland, because they have lost a couple of games here later in the year, they've dropped a little bit, but this win against an Ohio State team that started off the season hot can prove to everybody that, all right, the Terps are back and they're not going anywhere right now, especially when you go into later in the tournament. And what do we look at? We're talking about the defense specifically and McGahan there in cage. I mean, it's these guys that are going to help their teams win, and we see it year after year. Pat Cavanaugh last year, the defense every time stepping up.
Yeah,
goalie.
Yeah, but veterans like McGahan are the difference. Yeah. And for Ohio State in goal, Caleb Fyock, look, he's got the best nickname in college lacrosse, Big Tasty, but he's just not good enough in those big moments to make the saves like a guy like McGahan did. And at the end of the day, that's the difference. Those goalies is what's going to win national championships, and it's what's going to win those big games on national TV.
All right, well, the game that everybody had their eyes on, if you could pay for it, was Cornell and Syracuse on Saturday. The Big Red topped the Orange 17-12. I know this is a no pulp show, but we're bringing some pulp here because It was an electric game. Two, obviously, Adam, electric offenses that have been going back and forth for a few years now, but we need to talk about this Cornell team specifically. That's why it's some Pulp, because C.J. Kirst had a spectacular game, the Tewaaraton frontrunner, the Heisman of men's lacrosse. What a superstar this guy is. It made this tough Syracuse defense look like nothing.
Yeah, because C.J. Kirst is the best player in the country. Connor Busick, their head coach, said it after the game that there's no doubt now because he just is. Most goals per game, most points per game, and he shows up in the biggest moments. He had 5 goals against the Cuse last season, did it again this year. I mean, at this point, Cornell just owns Syracuse. The Orange can't stop them. They scored 18 last season, scored 17 this season.
And 5 goals away from breaking the all-time NCAA scoring record. Puts on an absolute clinic against Syracuse. Not slowing down. This one on Long Island as well. They were away from home. Neither team had necessarily an increased advantage, although we did hear from reports that the Syracuse crowd was strong over there on Long Island. Over there on Long Island, of course. But I mean, what a game from Kirst. I gotta ask you, because you're the ball knower here, not me. How legit do you think Cornell actually is if C.J. Kirst can continue to play the way that he is?
I mean, when you got the best player in the country, you can really do anything. But I think what's so impressive about Cornell is what they have in addition to him. Ryan Goldstein is an exceptional feeder, and he elevates Kirst to the next level. I mean, he had 5 assists in this game, which is exceptional. You see Jimmy McCool and what he did, just a 30% save percentage in this game. He got doubled up by Wyatt Nust, who's Cornell's goalie. We said this about the last game with McGahan and Fyock. Goalies are the difference in big-time college lacrosse. McCool was not good enough. Cornell's goalie was.
And maybe McCool will get there one day. Hopefully the Syracuse offense, at least they think, is good enough to compete with no matter any team that they're going to face. But right now, with the way that Joey Spallina's been playing, sometimes he shows up in some games, but not in other games.
Did not show up in this one.
Not in this one. And the whole Syracuse offense, when you have a guy like C.J. Kirst that plays the way that he is, needs to show up all together to defeat a guy like that. But right now, he's running away with the Tewaaraton, and no team is stopping Cornell as it seems right now. I'm just curious if we get to that point in the playoffs, can they beat a Maryland that has a superstar defense and shut them down?
I think absolutely they can, because Kirst is good enough. And he always shows up in the big moments. You said it there with Spallina. Yeah. Just 1 point in this game. I know he was great against Notre Dame, but he also had just 1 point against Virginia. Right. This whole, Joey Spallina's broke the narrative. No, he hasn't, because time and time again, he has not shown up in big games until he can do it consistently, game in, game out. It is always going to be an issue, because just 1 goal in a loss to Cornell is not going to cut it for a guy who is wearing number 22 at Syracuse and is supposed to bring this team back to a national championship.
And by the way, second in the Tewaaraton prediction rankings right now.
But there's no doubt that C.J. Kirst would win it over Joey Spallina. We saw it in that game.
Yeah.
There's a big difference between those two. So the big rivalry on Long Island this weekend. Also a massive rivalry game down in North Carolina as the Tar Heels took down Duke. First win for North Carolina in Durham since 2016. The Tar Heels are finally officially back. They haven't made the tournament since 2021.
Yeah.
But I think that this proved it, that they're finally back to where they used to be.
This team has proved it time and time again this year. In the clutch moments, this is what the best teams do. And the stat that caught my eye when I was going back and looking at the box score and diving deeper into this game was the cause turnovers for this game. Duke should have won this game. They forced 11 on UNC. North Carolina was not playing their best lacrosse in this game. But what did they do? They outscored Duke 5-2 in the second half. They climbed back. Don Petramala with a couple goals late. Right? This team was able to climb back in the moments when it counted. You remember that Johns Hopkins game from earlier this year. What did they do again? In the clutch moments, UNC gets goals on the board, gets stops late when it counts. They had that third quarter surge in this game that allowed them to jump ahead and take the lead after being down at halftime, which for some teams in a rivalry like this can get you down. But they didn't fight. They have a lot of players on this team that maybe we didn't expect to be as good as they were as a team this year. But this UNC team looks solid, and the ACC is scary no matter which way you look at it. But for them to go out and beat a Duke team coming off such a legendary program with Brendan O'Neill and all these guys that have now departed, I mean, this game was really tight. Props to the Tar Heels for getting the job done.
I think the biggest thing is that Duke just doesn't have the firepower that it has in the past. You brought up Brendan O'Neill, losing him and replacing him with Eric Molliver as your star attackman. Molliver was always okay, not great at Maryland. So how is he going to go to Duke and become even better? North Carolina, on the other hand, you brought up Don Petramala. They also have a guy like Owen Duffy, who is a star on offense and can score. Duke just does not have that this year, and because of it, they're 0-2 in the ACC, and it does not get easier for the Blue Devils. This is an ACC that's been very interesting so far this year in conference. Notre Dame, of course, already with one loss. Duke and Virginia 0-2, 0-3. I mean, the conference every year can just completely change, flip-flop up and down because, I mean, last year was North Carolina who was all the way at the bottom.
Syracuse 2-0 right now, defeated both Notre Dame and Virginia. But those two teams highlighted right there. They got both UNC and Duke coming up next. North Carolina and Notre Dame play this weekend as well. All of these rankings are going to get flipped upside down depending on who beats who. I mean, anybody can win. And we've talked about this with the whole landscape of college lacrosse this year. It's really anybody's game. We thought Maryland had it, or we thought Notre Dame had it. Now North Carolina is surging, and Maryland's back. Who knows what's happening right now?
Those teams that are undefeated right now in the ACC, when they played the teams that haven't won a game yet, they were very close. When Syracuse played Virginia, 1-goal game.
Yeah.
When Duke played North Carolina, 1-goal game. So it doesn't matter if you're the best or the worst. Yeah. Right now, it's going to be close in the ACC because that's just how it is in college lacrosse. We see so many close games. It's why this sport is so incredible.
Yeah.
Because at the top level, everyone is so good, and we see it again this season.
I mean, typically in college lacrosse, and I know everybody this year in college basketball was saying it's all chalk, all the teams later in the tournament and stuff, but can you imagine having all of these teams compete against each other at the end of the year? It will be utter chaos, total parity, nothing like we've seen before, but literally anybody can win, and that's what makes for such an exciting time, and in rivalries and games just like this between Duke and North Carolina.
It's awesome. I love this sport so much. I think it's the most fun thing in the world.
Yeah.
I could talk about lacrosse forever, and I mean, why stop now? We'll continue talking lacrosse when we come back on No Pulp, and we'll bring in our good friend Jordan Leonard for the first round of this year's Juicer tournament. Don't go anywhere.
Over at the wall, the Juicer tournament commences. Adam Avin, Adam Gotkin. We bring in Jordan Leonard. Jordan, thanks for joining us. How excited are you for this Juicer tournament matchup?
I'm very excited. Hot Pesach, by the way, guys. Happy Passover. I loaded up on matzah, and I'm ready to take on Adam Gotkin.
Jordan is ready to go, and that is exactly why we were going to get started right away. To start off the second Juicer tournament, and we're going to start off with the first question here, and we're sticking with lacrosse. You teased it earlier, Adam. I'm going to start with you first. Most competitive conference in men's lacrosse this year. We know it's difficult, but who you got?
For me, I'm going with the Ivy League, finally back on top, where this conference is honestly used to being, because you look at the top, you have the number 1 and number 2 teams in the country, which automatically, I think, makes it the most competitive, because at the top, you have the 2 best teams in the nation, and then after that, Harvard, somehow number 9 in the country, I think the most underrated team that you've ever seen. Dartmouth is ranked for the first time in forever. This is a program that has not made the NCAA tournament in my lifetime, and they were ranked this season. Your other teams in the Ivy League, Yale, Brown, those are programs that have made the Final Four in the last 10 years. This conference is always so deep. At the top, it's great. At the bottom, it's better than it's ever been. I think the Ivy is incredible right now.
So we got the Ivy League. Jordan,
so you talk a lot about the past. I'm focused on the present. You mentioned the top 2 teams in the country. Yes, the Ivy League does have that. But the Big Ten is the deepest team in the most competitive conference in the entire country. Just look at the top 25. You got Maryland at 3, Ohio State at 6, Penn State at 8, Michigan 13, Rutgers 18, Johns Hopkins just out of the top top 20 at number 21. That's basically the entire conference. When you look at the standings, you guys were talking about this in the first segment of the show. Michigan, Ohio State at 3-1. Rutgers, Penn State, Maryland at 2-2. Anybody can win this conference, and the Big Ten's going to get an automatic qualifier, but they might as well get potentially 3 at-large bids in the NCAA tournament. This conference has been solid in years past. The ACC, the Ivy League have been the better 2 conferences, but this conference came to play this season, easily the most competitive in the NCAA.
Well, so what I'll say is, and you're right, you used our own words against us. We did a lot of Big Ten talk in the first block of this show. But I got to say, when you had the top two teams at the top of the country in the same conference,
depth.
But when they make it far, nobody wants to face those 2 teams later on.
That's
right
not
now,
competition,
those are the best
because
2 teams
they're
in the
running
country,
away with it.
They're being competitive. First point goes to Adam Gotkin. Jordan, I'm going to come to you here for question number 2. Most underrated team in women's lacrosse right now. Who you got?
Yeah, this one's tough because when you look at women's lacrosse, there's only a couple teams that can really win a national championship. But when I look at the entire country, I look at Yale. They're probably the most underrated team in the country based on potential and what they can do. Yes, they're top 10. Adam Gotkin's going to be shaking my head because I picked a top 10 team, and they did beat Syracuse, but nobody's taking them seriously enough. They've lost 3 games this year by a total of 6 goals, one of which was at Stanford. When you look at this Yale team, Jenna Collignan and Fallon Vaughn lead a stacked Bulldog squad. They're very balanced. Nobody's giving them credit for where they can potentially get to the Final Four and win a national championship, and it's because of defense. Everyone talks about it, the old saying, the old adage, defense wins championships. They're second in the country in goals allowed per game with 7. Most underrated team in the country.
All right. Jordan, I'll tell you what, I think that 10-3 Yale is perfectly rated at number 6. 10-3 Brown at number 17 is absolutely absurd. This is a Brown team that beat Yale, that lost by just 1 to number 8 Duke, has proven time and time again that it is good enough to be in the top 10, yet for some reason, they're number 17 in the country? I mean, what are we doing here? Katrina Down, now in her 2nd year as head coach, has completely turned this program around. Went 10-5 last year. Before she came to Brown, that's a program that was under 500 now. She is doing incredible things, but because she wasn't good 2 years ago, the team isn't ranked? I don't know what we're doing here. Same record, yet 11 spots lower, even though they beat them?
Do you actually think they could beat good teams, though?
They beat Yale. They beat your team.
By like 1 goal.
So here's my thing. And that is a great point. Yes, they did beat Yale, but to me, I don't do the whole thing where like a team that's at the top of the country can't be underrated. If nobody's talking about that team, they can be underrated, and nobody's talking about Yale right now.
I just talked about
people are talking about BC and UNC and all these other teams.
They're not talking about Yale. More than
Jordan Leonard gets that point. Yale beat Syracuse, by the way,
in
that game. So Jordan Leonard, it's up 2-1 right now. Gotkin, I'm going to go back to you for question 3 here, and now we're going general. We're going men's and women's lacrosse. Give me the best freshman in the country right now.
I mean, I think it's pretty simple because you can make a decent argument that this is the best player in the entirety of the country, and that's Chloe Humphrey at North Carolina. She's getting Tewaaraton talk right now as a freshman, leads the best team in the country in goals. She is just truly doing special stuff. Jenna Levy has been the head coach at North Carolina for 30 years now. She said that Chloe Humphrey might be the best player that she has ever coached. Wow. Over 4 goals a game, 7 games with more than 5 goals this season. She has done truly, truly special stuff. And then she does the little things as well. 4th on her team in ground balls. She's got a ton of caused turnovers. Chloe Humphrey is that generational player that we don't see come around that often in women's college lacrosse. I think she's got a chance to be up there with Charlotte North in a couple of years as we're talking about popularity. She might win the Tewaaraton as a freshman.
Right, I mean, Jordan. She was a top 2 recruit in the class. This is expectations here for Chloe Humphrey. She's living up to the expectations down in North Carolina. But how about a guy on men's lacrosse, Army? Nobody's ever heard of this guy before. Braden Fountain, excuse me.
Didn't even get his name right.
Whatever. Braden Fountain wasn't even in the top 100 recruits in the country, and he's starring for an Army team that's in the top 10 and is going to make the NCAA tournament. He's second on the team behind Jack Eicher in goals. He is second in the country in freshman goals as well, behind a guy for St. Joe's. St. Joe's isn't plenty one. Either way, Army, the number 4 team in the country, beat a top 10 North Carolina team. Braden Fountain, 32 goals, 11 assists, 43 points. This kid's putting on a show right behind Jackson Eichel for a really good Army team. Of course, he's going to serve our country. That's what makes him the best player in the country as well.
If this was a month ago, sure, he doesn't have more than 3 points in 5 games. He was great at the start of the season. Since then, he hasn't done anything.
And he's still second in the country in total goals scored for a freshman.
Because he was great at the beginning.
We got 2 great players here, and we're not going to a bonus question. This decides who wins this round. Now, our good friend, who is long gone now, Andrew Sellery, used to have a rule. If you messed up a name in the juicer, you didn't get the point. Now, I don't play by those rules.
Okay.
However, Chloe Humphrey
that's what
might be the best sister out of her 2 other sisters that she's on the team with right now. She's one of the best. She's amazing. I got to watch up close. I got to watch up close. She's a spectacular player. Hey, thanks for you made it to the Juicer tournament, and that's all that matters. Let's take a look at the Juicer rankings, our bracket. Now, Adam Gotkin advances the 6 over the 3.
Upset.
Except everybody's a host at this table right now, so really, we're all winners. But Adam Gotkin advances in the Juicer tournament, and we're gonna see, man. We're gonna see if you can beat the next matchup. You got the winner of Chloe.
I'm not rooting for Adam Gotkin the rest of the way.
Well,
you got to go win it all for me.
But then
I might be the judge enough.
But then if he wins the whole thing, you're gonna be like, okay, I respect that because I lost the championship.
Exactly how it works.
That's how it works. All right, we will be right back. We're going back to basketball. Yes, it's April. Yes, it just ended. But the transfer portal, we're diving right in and breaking it all down. Stay with us.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back into No Pulp. It is transfer portal time. How about our incredible production crew?
Look at these
up
graphics.
With the current trends.
Minecraft
movie. Into the portal.
Jigs.
I love it.
Love it.
Awesome.
Love it. Great job. We do a great job here.
So we are going to break down the transfer portal, what's going on right now in men's basketball. Not fully done yet, but we do have some guys that have committed. And we'll get into our favorite players that have committed so far. For me, I'm looking at Rob Wright going from Baylor to BYU.
Baller.
This is a Cougars program that is going to be absolutely incredible next year because, well, Rob Wright is going to be playing next to the #1 player in the country. And, well, when you do that, that makes you a lot better. AJ DeBonsa, we just saw him play in the Nike Hoops Elite Summit. He was incredible in that. And now Rob Wright is going to be his point guard. If you watch Baylor this season, Wright was really impressive. He's an explosive point guard. Averaged 11, 5, and 2 last season. He's athletic. He shot only about 35% from 3, but I imagine as he goes to BYU, that's going to go up because this is a Cougars program that is led by a great head coach in Kevin Young. So I love this fit. BYU's got a lot of money, and they're using it for a star in Rob Wright.
I mean, they not only got the #1 recruit in the country in next year's class, but then you go and get one of the best players in the country in Rob Wright, steal him from Baylor after he reportedly had already signed a contract.
Scott Drew was not happy.
Scott Drew was not happy. So we'll see what happens at BYU, but that's a great pick. For me, I'm going Jacoby Gillespie from
Terps.
Maryland. Right, if he's in Maryland, now he's at Tennessee. And what does Rick Barnes do with transfers? This is proven. He has these guys and gets them to play so hard for his team. I mean, this is a 14 points per game scorer who shoots 40% from 3 this year. And this was a guy who played at Belmont, averaged 17 points per game there, went to Maryland, played great 15 points a game at Maryland this year in the Crab 5 and was a part of a team that played really, really hard all year long. He's a proven scorer. And because of his ability to also pass the ball, he averaged around 5 assists per game this year, being one of the main ball handlers for the Terps. he's going to be able to fill that Zakai Ziegler role really well, and that's the kind of offense that Rick Barnes tries to emulate, the shooting and the playmaking, and I think both of these guys, Adam, do that very, very well.
Yeah, we're looking at 2 point guards here. There's a lot of really talented guards in the portal in general. This is where I think we're going to see a lot of the best players transferring. The bigs, a lot of them are very questionable, but these two guys, I think, can make huge differences on their teams next year. I think that BYU and Tennessee are both probably preseason top 15 teams. I mean, the portal has been massive in last years. I don't know why it wouldn't be big once again. And these are two big additions for two programs that were in the top 15 this past season.
Right. Well, let's look at more of the landscape of the transfer portal right now and talk about the teams that we're the most impressed with and which teams have improved the most. So I'm going to go first, and I'm going to say it's the Michigan Wolverines. Okay, Dusty May is an elite head coach, and even if you go back to where he was at FAU prior to taking the Michigan job, it was all transfers, time and time again. He got a bunch of 5-stars and 4-stars to commit right when the portal opened. They lose Trey Donaldson to the portal. Yes, he goes off elsewhere, one of their best players from this year. But then they go in and get Elliot Cadeau from UNC, a proven player, a scorer, 3-point shooting, that's what they needed. Adai Mara from UCLA, a 7'2 center. And then they go and get Yaxel Lendenberg from UAB.
Maybe the best player in the portal.
Who's the #1 player in the portal according to 247, a bunch of other websites. So he got a bunch of guys. They also got Morris Johnson at him from Illinois. They had got 4 proven players who want to play for Dusty May. He did the same thing when he brought Vlad Golden to him to FAU. He was at Texas Tech. He's not a big guy of going in to the recruiting because he knows he's not going to pull a bunch of 5-stars to FAU. Now he's at Michigan. He has the national brain. He could do that here, but he's sticking to who he is. He knows he can build a connection with these older players, and he's doing a phenomenal job at it right now. Him and their whole recruiting team is going to get Michigan back to where they were and even farther than they unexpectedly went this year.
Yeah, it'll be fun to see what May does. He's got another big coming in. Of course, had the 2 bigs last year with Danny Wolf and Vlad Golden. So interesting to see what Michigan does.
Happy pass over to Danny Wolf, too, by the way.
Absolutely. A team that I like right now and what they're doing in the portal. Also a coach that I really like. Yeah. And Pat Kelsey went from from College of Charleston over to Louisville and had a great first season. And he's got an exceptional transfer portal class right now. 3 guys in the top 20, including 2 who come from big schools, and Isaac McNeely from Virginia and Ryan Conwell from Xavier. These are 2 top 20 portal guys, 2 elite scorers, but then the big one, Adrian Woolley from Kennesaw State, an 18.8 point per game scorer. This is a dynamic guard. I really like what Kelsey has done here, getting 3 guys who are all dynamic, who can all shoot threes, and who are all guards. We've seen it time and time again in college basketball, that it is a sport that is dominated by guards. And to win in March, you need players who can handle the ball, and that is exactly what Pat Kelsey has gone out and got. 3 guys who are all pretty decent size, 6'4", 6'5", 3 guys who are very highly rated. I mean, this is just an incredible transfer class. Pat Kelsey really brought Louisville back into the national relevance last season. In year 2, I think he has got special things ahead.
I gotta say, I really do believe in the Michigan pick, but I do think that this is the answer here. They got a lot of great transfers, and this team hopefully is much more improved next year. The only thing that worries me is, you're right, they got a lot of 6'4", 6'5" guys. The teams that went far in March this year were really, really tall. Will they be able to compete? We'll see, but definitely a good transfer class for sure.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see what they do. 2 teams that we like. Yeah. How about some teams that we don't really like? Squads that have really struggled in the portal. For me, unfortunately for Danny Hurley, I'm looking at his brother Bobby, who has not had the same success at Arizona State. Of course, his brother, back-to-back national champions. Bobby has made the tournament just 2 times in 7 years. He finally had a great freshman class last season, number 7 in the country. And well, all 3 of the guys that he brought in are all gone. Jaden Quintance, Josen Senon, and Amir Ali, all goodbye. And I think this is it for Bobby Hurley. This is his last hope. He's a guy who, you like him, you like the name. He finally had a chance with a lot of talent coming in, but it is just all falling apart. They all enter the portal, and I guess, Tempe just wasn't enough. I think it's really hard to win at Arizona State. There's not really a fan base that cares, and it didn't really matter that they had the number 7 freshman class in the country. A year later, they're all gone, and for Bobby Hurley, I think he might be saying goodbye to Arizona State soon.
We always talk about freshmen, but really outside of Cooper Flagg this year, it was all the older guys around the country that were balling year-round. So we'll see what happens with Arizona State, but they definitely lost a lot of players. Another team that I'm looking at, we're going back to the ACC here, and I'm going to talk about Florida State. And if you know me, you know I'm a known Florida State hater, but this one is genuinely not the case. This is a team that has been in the middle of the pack of the ACC for years now. They were struggling this year, and they've struggled really since Scotty Barnes left in that COVID year since 2021. They had 3 of their best players, their 3 leading scorers, their 3 playmakers from an already struggling ACC middle-of-the-pack team, Jameer Watkins, Malik Ewan, and then you also had Taylor Bowen go to Alabama as well. So
Jerry Dang's gone too.
All of these players are getting poached by other top programs because FSU did have guys that could compete with some of the other top dogs around the country. Jameer Watkins was a consistent 25, 30 points a night against some of those top opponents. These guys, 2 leading scorers, both rebound the ball very well. They shoot the ball really well. For their respective positions. I feel bad that these guys are gone, and now they lose Leonard Hamilton, their head coach for the past 3 decades, to the portal as well, I guess, if you want to call it. He retired the retirement portal. He's gone. He goes into the distance. So FSU, a program now that has to figure out how to rebuild, and Arizona State and Florida State, 2 teams that need to try and get back to where they once were.
2 party schools not having much fun right now.
Definitely not. But we're having fun at Syracuse.
Yes, we're having a lot of fun here, and I'm sure you're going to be having a lot of fun when we come back on No Pulp, because we've got another round of the Juicer tournament. Chloe Smarz taking on Drew Albaugh. I'm excited to find my opponent in the next round. Don't go anywhere, everyone. No Pulp returns.
Dad, they took over my bedroom. Come on, come on. Okay, Dad. 1, 2, 3. Dad! You saved me. Dad?
Are you okay?
I'm fine, dear.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
Welcome back to the Juicer Tournament. We continue here alongside Chloe Smarz and Drew Albaugh, 2 veterans on this No Pulp stage. Former producer.
No Pulp veterans.
Chloe, recently you beat me in the Juicer, which is why I got snubbed from being in the Juicer Tournament. So we'll see how this goes for you.
Hopefully there's no bad blood with you.
Yeah,
no biased opinion.
We'll see how this goes for you. What? What?
No.
By the way, Drew Albaugh's the brainchild of what we got here. All right, guys, we're talking basketball here. We're going back to basketball. I need the question because my papers are somewhere, which is why I was stalling. Sorry, producer Connor. We're going to question 1, and because it's Chloe's papers, we'll go to you first.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Most disappointing men's basketball preseason top 25 team. Let's hear it. And while you go, I'm going to look for my questions.
New Jersey is known for a few things, Drew. You know, pork roll, which you don't even know what that is. The Jersey Shore, and gym tanning and laundering. And there's one thing that they are not known for. It is basketball. My pick here is Rutgers. Jordan Leonard, my good friend who was just in the Juicer, had them to win the Big Ten during Beat the Bookie, and it just didn't work out. You know why it didn't work out? Because all they had was Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper Jr., the 2 best freshmen not named Cooper Flagg, and yet they were the 89th scoring offense, ranked 312th in scoring defense this season. This, to put it simply, Drew, it was horror of a season for Rutgers. So much hype, I don't even think I can remember in my lifetime when Rutgers was selling out basketball games. And they were, all for them to lose to Alabama, Texas A&M, Ohio State, and Kennesaw State in their 5th game.
All right, so I got my questions, but we got to let Drew in before I can read the next one. So Drew, who you got?
I got Kansas, and it's for one simple reason. The top dog coming in to the NCAA season was the Jayhawks, #1, and they fall out of the tournament in the round of 64. It's the first time Kansas loses in the round of 64 since, get this, 2006. That's 17 years making the round of 32. And this year, when they were meant to be the favorites to win the whole thing, Kansas says, it's not this time. Hunter Dickinson disappeared in the biggest moment, shot 35% against Arkansas. This is a team that, by all accounts, was the favorites to win the national championship, and they couldn't even get past the first weekend.
Rutgers didn't even make it into the postseason.
Rutgers isn't known for basketball. You said it yourself.
It was the most hyped up team. They have two NBA lottery picks.
Let me say, you're 100% right. They have two lottery picks. They're a good team, but that was the number one team in the country. That was the number one team in the country, and they had their lowest seed in the tournament since 1990.
Jordan Leonard's not gonna like
Drew
that.
Albaugh gets that first point here. All right, guys, we're switching over to women's basketball. Drew, I'm going to start with you here. Give me your most surprising team from women's college basketball this time around.
Yeah, I'm going to go with TCU. This is a Horned Frogs team to kind of mix it up. Unranked going into the season, and turns out to be the 6th best team in all of college hoops. Goes to the Elite Eight for the first time in their entire history. In fact, the Horned Frogs haven't even made the Sweet 16, let alone the Elite Eight, and Haley Van Lith and all of those girls go out and do the dang thing. The number 6 team in the entire country to end the season. It's the first time making the Elite Eight for them, and it was because of Haley Van Lith. Averaged 11 points with LSU last year. She just about doubled that this season with TCU. She was excellent, and head coach Mark Campbell, 6-12 last year in conference, turns around 16-2.
Smarz, who you got?
I like that pick a lot. I'm going to go Maryland here. And this is a team coming into the season that had a little bit of uncertainty. Obviously, they have a new head coach in Brenda Freeze. They had 4 new transfers coming into the portal, but they were coming off an underwhelming 2023 season where they finished 99 in the conference and just only 5 games above 500. So the big key was, okay, could they come in, bring all these new pieces and a new head coach and build a culture and build a chemistry to make a run? They did, all the way to the Sweet 16 after losing in the opening round a year ago. Got a number 4 seed in the tournament. At one point was the 7th best team in the country, went on a 14-game win streak, 11th best scoring offense in the country. Maryland really proved me wrong at least.
At one point,
we got a lot of juicer to get
South Carolina.
We got a lot of juicer to get through.
They were ranked to start the year, and TCU finished higher.
You're arguing with me. I haven't even said anything yet. But because
I'm arguing with Chloe. I'm just talking to you.
All right, I appreciate that. Either way, you're not going to be happy with me because Haley Van Lith is one of the best players in the country. You expected that team to be better.
Maryland was ranked going into the year, and TCU was not.
Though coming in.
The Maryland Terps. There we go. All right, question.
I don't need it.
Question three. Just like we did in our previous juicer matchup, we're going big picture. Men's and women's college basketball. Guys, I want to hear the best single game performance from any player in the country. Chloe?
Foreshadowing, I don't even know who Drew's going to say because I've never even heard of him. You'll definitely hear the person that I said because they were the #1 pick today in the WNBA draft.
Let's hear it.
Paige Beckers, a career-high 40-point games in the Sweet 16 versus Oklahoma. Obviously, when the pressures in the postseason comes around, you need your best player to step up, and Paige Beckers did that. On the line in a game against the number 3 seeded Oklahoma, rather, she put a career-high 40 points and obviously led the Huskies to a national championship game. This was the most points scored ever by a Husky in an NCAA tournament history, and there have been some legends that have played for Gino Auriemma. Along with that in this game, though, she went on a 10-0 run just to finish the game, shot 60%, 6 rebounds, 3 steals.
You guys didn't need her. You guys didn't need her. It was a 30-point win.
Great game.
You hear that?
Mind you, in the postseason, and it matters.
It's Trayson Eagle-Staff.
Who even is that?
Trayson Eagle-Staff from North Dakota. If you don't know him, I'm going to give you a little history lesson. Let's flash back over to January, where North Dakota played South Dakota State for the first time this season, and Eagle-Staff does a whole lot of nothing. 12 points, and his team loses by 30. Fast forward 2 months to March, in the biggest moment in the semifinals in the Summit League, win or go home, and Trayson Eagle-Staff goes off and scores 51 points. The only player in college basketball to score 50-plus points, and it's in the biggest moment against South Dakota State, the first time to win the series since 1992. Talk about stepping up. 51 points in the biggest moment. That's the most points. That's more.
And you know what? And you know what? Both of you guys make great points. We're talking about a single game. Natty doesn't really matter here. However, playing on the biggest stage does. And to me, UConn women's basketball in March Madness, 40 points, Chloe Smarz advances. Hey, you put up a good fight and you had good answers, but Chloe Smarz with the comeback win. She's right. You're a producer. You have the 2 years here. You're good. Chloe Smarz, Adam Gotkin.
We better be talking college softball.
We got a 2-6 matchup in the Final Four. Chloe, you excited?
It better be college softball, college baseball.
All right. Well, all I know is
Chloe,
I won't be here for that one. Chloe Smarz originally had 0 wins in the year, now has 2 straight.
I'm on a roll this year.
At this. All right, 3. You got 3 straight, actually. Anyways,
thank you.
Let's continue here on No Pulp. As Chloe goes and celebrates her victory, Adam Gotkin and I celebrate the best plays from the week. Stick around.
Closing up shop here on No Pulp, Adam Gotkin alongside Adam Avin. Let's finish things how we always do with our plays of the week and our final words. But first, our plays of the week. And I got to start off going to the diamond. We are talking baseball because, well, I love baseball. Troy against James Madison. And how about this catch from the shortstop, Jacob Wax? He overruns it. Oh! Goes backwards. Diving catch. That has to hurt your back. Incredible. Yeah, that has got to hurt.
Your tailbone.
Overruns it. At first, it's an awful play. Going to be an error. Maybe wind here, but full stretch behind him. That's just unbelievable athleticism from Wax. Troy would go on to win that game 6-3. Just special stuff. Almost Odell style.
That has to hurt, and I'm going with another play that might hurt. Jake Taylor from Notre Dame. Let's take a look when we can. He gets the ball on the floor, on the turf, on his knees, and flips it over his head. I mean, if we can't get it up, that's okay, but I want to make sure that we can because it is one of the craziest things you'll see. So you saw it go in. He celebrates, and what a goal. I mean, there it is. You see it here again. Right, he picks it up. Oh, you don't even notice it. You don't even see it. Oh my God, right over his head, gets it past the goalie, and Notre Dame wins that game from an unreal circus shot from Jake Taylor.
Well, I brought up baseball with my play of the week, and I'm going to go to baseball for my final word as well because there was arguably the most interesting game of the season, and that was in Division III, Yeshiva against Lehman. And I know what you're saying. What are you talking about? These two teams went into a doubleheader with a combined losing streak of 140 games. Neither team had won in over 2 seasons, and in the doubleheader, both teams picked up victories. So the combined 141 game losing streaks after the loss in Game 1 came to an end. This game was covered by NBC, CBS, MLB, and ESPN. They moved it to Fairleigh Dickinson University to accommodate for the bigger crowd. There was a bunch of fans in attendance for an absolutely absurd college baseball doubleheader between probably the 2 worst teams in the country, but you know what? Fun sports are fun sports, and what a story that was in Teaneck, New Jersey, as Yeshiva and Lehman both ended their long, long losing streaks.
Yeah, shout out Yeshiva. Look, we talked some college basketball on this show, but we didn't get to talk any Florida Gators basketball on this show, so I'm using this as my opportunity. There are so many great feelings in life, holding a puppy, smelling freshly baked chocolate chip cookies, but I was reminded that after a decade and a half of watching my favorite teams lose, there is absolutely nothing that beats your favorite team winning a championship, or in Florida's case, a championship. I grew up in Florida with parents who went to the University of Florida, who brainwashed me to be a Gator fan from the second I was born. I don't really remember the Joakim Noah, Corey Brewer championships, barely remember Tebow. So as a lifelong fan of a team, you wish to see them hoist the trophy. I grew up on the Patrick Youngs, Bradley Beals of the world. I will have Chris Jones' game winner versus Wisconsin etched into my brain for the rest of eternity. Despite these 2025 Gators nearly giving all the Avins a heart attack multiple times this postseason, there is nothing like the feeling you get when the clock hits double zeros and your team comes out on top and makes history. That's why sports is the great unifier. Any game, any moment can make somebody, anybody, no matter how old they are, feel like the happiest little kid in the world again. Pure happiness, pure joy. There was nothing like it. Oh, and by the way, go Gators.
Here's the thing, though. I have a personal thing that if you ever were a kid and had LeBron James on your favorite team, I never want you to win again. You were a Miami Heat fan also, so I'm not happy for you because you got to root for LeBron, so therefore I never want you to win.
All right, you know what? That's fair, but that was 2013, and you know what? I'm still waiting on that Dolphins Super Bowl. That's all that matters.
Never gonna happen.
But yeah, I mean, what a story, and what a way to end in college basketball. Seriously, you had all 4 1 seasons competing at the end. One of the best Final Fours in recent memory after conversation of that tournament, and now college lacrosse getting started. Adam, I mean, what a season we're witnessing right now.
College sports always delivers. Doesn't matter what the season is. Baseball, softball going on right now. Those are incredible. And we've got a couple more shows to break it all down. Thank you all so much for tuning in to this edition of No Pulp. We'll see you all next week.